guys, welcome back to a special edition of the Lovin Dubai show. As you know, we usually go live at 8:30 a.m., but today we interrupt your regular programming with a special announcement directly from the government.
So the National Emergency Crisis and Disaster Management Authority had announced a special UAE government media briefing for COVID-19, and it
Happening
usually
at 5:30 today.
5:30 is typically in Arabic, so we're here to translate everything for you from all the tweets. So stay tuned. As things are happening, we're going to update you. It's all about what's happening with Eid.
Yeah, so as the travel period comes up, we're also, of course, looking at numbers and remembering that the pandemic is still among us. So we just need to be as safe as we possibly can be. Now, the first information that we're getting through is directly related to mosque and prayers. So we're going to bring that to you now. But just as a reminder, before we jump into it all, as the total cases in the UAE for COVID are at 951,000. Today's reported cases were 1,764. So as we jump into one of those really busy travel periods, we're still seeing kind of heightened numbers, which we can assume as to why we're getting this special COVID-19 briefing. Usually they've stopped them. We were having like a weekly one every Wednesday. You guys remember every Thursday we were here with the information. They've stopped all of that, but this is a special announcement heading into Eid, and we're hoping we're going to bring you all of that information.
So with things fluctuating, this is an appropriate time to have a briefing. Eid is one of the biggest, the biggest celebrations in our culture and Islam. So just better safe than sorry and keeping safe. The announcements are coming in and it's all about the prayers. So a few things that we're aware of as of now is that prayer time will be 20 minutes. So typically there's a lecture and then the prayers, which is only a few minutes. But they're going to have to cap it, which means that potentially the lectures might not happen. And like back in the day, it was so nice like having everyone walk out, everyone would hug each other. That's not happening. You're keeping your masks on, we're staying safe. And also another thing to be aware of is that you have to bring your own prayer mats.
Interesting. So these are just the little reminders that we need going into the holiday. And I think the government has shared that the following procedures is because we are still dealing with COVID-19, and they want to assure you that the health sector is ready to deal with the increase in cases, basically acknowledging that there has been an increase in cases, but that the health sector is ready to deal with it as long as we follow all of the precautions laid out for us. And basically what they're saying is providing the necessities in order to guarantee that everyone is healthy and safe. So all of the information that you're going to get, so like these changes Shahir made, Shahir said like they are there basically to ensure that we stay safe throughout the Eid holiday, because it's a busy period. We're catching up with our friends, but we need to stay safe.
People are typically hugging their family members, being very touchy-feely, so close to each other, and it is like great family time. But also you're required to wear a face mask when visiting families. You're required to also social distance, and especially when sitting around the elderly or people with chronic diseases.
And they're also reminding people any precautionary measures that are deemed appropriate. Now they're also going to bring updates for Al Husn. So as of now, until this update, we knew that Al Husn is only for Abu Dhabi, and also that you are still required to have green Al Husn to enter public places in Abu Dhabi. That was until this briefing. So we're going to bring you an update on Al Husn.
So updates are literally coming as we speak. The latest one says we recommend prevention and caution during the holiday and in the event of a desire to travel, and adhere to the application of the prevention and precautionary measures. So basically it's the same situation of being safe while traveling, being aware of what's needed, social distancing of course, and the Al Husn app is important. You are...
Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, for AD, for AD. So yeah, it's just like going the extra mile with making sure that everything is done and you're super aware of what you need to do in order to keep you and the people around you safe, basically.
And then the following update is that we recommend that you review health centres directly in basically if you're feeling symptoms. In the event of infection, they emphasise the application of home quarantine. So I think that we know the cases have been rising. I don't know about you, but we've had infections like in our office. We've had some people quarantining. They're just reminding people of that need. If you have flu-like symptoms, even if you're testing negative, you still need to quarantine, because what's happening is that we're seeing kind of negative tests at the beginning, and then 5 days later, people are testing positive. some people aren't doing the home quarantining, and that's causing these cases to rise. So as we go into the holidays, just remember that if you're feeling flu-like symptoms, you could easily have the vid. So
have the vid? I feel like the corones would have been more appropriate, but that's just me. So yeah, people are not necessarily adhering, but also as a country, we're still required to wear masks in indoor places, right? So one of the biggest changes was that you can stop wearing the mask outdoors, but you still had to keep them indoors. And I can't think of that many countries that is still implementing that rule. And I think it has been helping us as a whole well, I think the cases are lower because we're wearing masks and because all these precautions are still in place.
Yeah, and I think it's important for these reminders, you know, and like we are so lucky to be able to travel like never before. And we've seen all of the updates come through from, you know, Emirates recently saying they have an unprecedented travel surge, which means that, and they were basically like, book your flights now in case of disappointment. They have not seen numbers like this since pre-COVID. But therefore, you know, we still need to remind ourselves that our health could be at risk. So all the simple things like, yes, Eid is coming. You can exchange. And this is interesting from before, because before they were suggesting don't share gifts and things. But now this year they're saying you can exchange food and gifts and bags as long as you're being careful, putting them in clean bags, keeping things sanitized. That's really clear, really key. And also, of course, yeah, wear your masks throughout Eid.
So in terms of traveling, if you're traveling into the UAE, you do not need to self-isolate if you're going to AD. But if you're going to Dubai or coming into Dubai or Sharjah, you are required to do a PCR test upon arrival. And this is circumstantial. It is a bit random and a bit, not necessarily everyone's required to do that. So in terms of traveling, everything's out there. All the information's on the websites of the places you're going and the places you're coming.
That's so key, because we get so many messages coming in, you know, asking about specific requirements for specific countries. In Dubai, UAE, that's not, when you're traveling elsewhere, it's up to that country to decide for you. Now, we obviously have our specific rules here for traveling back into the UAE, which you'll need to be aware of. But if you're going elsewhere, it's up to the country that you're traveling to. And I always suggest checking with the airline that you're traveling with, because at the end of the day, when you're getting on that flight, it's going to be their protocol. So if you have confirmation for them as to what you need in terms of like PCR, vaccination, no vaccination, whatever they're suggesting, if you have it directly from the airline right before you travel, then that's kind of like key in terms of travel information.
That's exactly what I did last time I traveled. I called the airline. All the information was already up. I called out of paranoia.
They have it all.
They do have it all, but, you know, reassurance. But yeah, like, one main thing is do check where you're traveling to and what the requirements are, and all the airlines do have these updates coming in immediately, so they're super aware of what needs to be done, super aware of all the changes happening from all the different countries. So yeah, sorry.
No, it's all right. I'm just watching everything come through just to make sure that we're like sharing the specific information that you guys need for travel. Of course, we have 4 days off from Friday to Monday. Are you traveling?
You want to show off. You want me to ask you back? We know where you're going, Casey. Enjoy the Maldives. No, I'm going to stay here. I might see my family, but I'll figure that out
I was
later.
enjoying the show off. Or was I? At this point, I don't even know. It's like any way I can get that into conversation.
It's been happening all day, by the way. I'm calling you out. In terms of vaccinated travelers, if you're coming into the UAE, you do not need to present a negative PCR test. You're all good. And you need to have the QR code. That is key. You need to have either the QR code or the certificate to verify that you do have the vaccinations.
And we have the kind of final information on Eid prayer protocols. So for prayers this Eid, as Shahir said, it's only going to be 20 minutes. Worshippers are required to wear a mask at all times and keep a distance between one another of 1 meter. There will be police, volunteers and imams who will watch entrances and exits in order to limit crowds, basically, along with making prayers more organized. So there will be people at all of the mosques just to make sure that everything's aligned, space is being kept between people, and that prayers are able to happen safely.
Which also means that spaces inside are limited. If there's a 1 meter gap, that's like 2 or 3 people that can be praying in between. So I would go early, by the way, to the mosque, just better.
What are specific prayer times?
It depends. So there's a Eid prayer that happens between, I want to say 5:30 and 7, depending on your mosque that you go to. And then you have the lecture. The lecture is 10 to 15 minutes, and then the prayer is not more than 5 minutes. So it is a short, not ceremony, but a short event or a short prayers. It's all about giving. It's all about having the sense of awareness of the people around you.
Yeah, 100%.
And just being super aware of what Eid is all about, you know? It is the happiest time.
But you're right, it's a happiest time. Well, it's a family time and it's a family holiday, but it's also just about social responsibility. And I think that's one of the messages coming from the UAE government in their press briefing is we, the public, are required to just be aware of social responsibility, highlighting our commitment to implementing all, recommended precautionary measures. Basically, if you feel like flu-like symptoms, do not travel. Stay at home. Just think about the people around you. We are all vaccinated, so I feel like there's that sense of we have that little sense of safety, a sense of a bubble. But actually, people are still getting the virus, and it's still passing around. Our numbers are rising. So if you are traveling, if you have the privilege of traveling, just consider those around you before you do.
I'm jealous. Honestly, that's what
I know
it
you
comes
are.
down
You want
to
to come? That's it.
And also, one of the tweets did mention that everything has been done by the country to make sure that basically the precautionary measures have been taken to keep us safe, which also goes back to the conversation we were having earlier about still wearing masks indoors. You're still every time I go into the mall, my gym's in a mall, everyone is with their mask down, and we haven't had specific confirmation that masks can't be
No, we haven't.
removed.
In fact, we've had confirmation that you're going to get fined if you're not wearing your mask.
3K, so that's on you. But yeah, there has not been any confirmations that you shouldn't be wearing masks, so just keep safe. The malls do get busy during any time, super busy, especially like Dubai Mall and Mall of Emirates. So just make sure that you're doing everything that you need to in order to keep you and your family safe. Because for me growing up, we'd go to places together as a family, and if you're around people that aren't necessarily doing what needs to be done in terms of social distancing and having masks, you are putting people at risk.
100%, and it's very interesting about numbers in terms of safety, because what we're saying is 99% of people have been vaccinated in the UAE.
Yeah,
which is huge. And that is obviously a testament to the incredible process that's been implemented. So, and now they're looking at travel for leaving the country. And we're going to get a specific update on this, but it looks like you may need to have your green Al Husn, i.e. your boosters need to be up to date, potentially a vaccine or potentially a PCR to travel. So they're going to implement a green light traffic system to give you permission to leave the country as we head in to the holiday period. Which will be quite an update, because I think that we'll need to all check our Al Husn, which 100%. Is what I'm going to do right now to make sure where I am. But I know that I'm probably going to need a PCR to get that green.
Well, I think regardless, I would take a PCR just to make sure. Airplanes are super congested and
100%. Smart move, Shahir.
Yeah, well, that's me. Airplanes are being filled, and like the airlines have said, it's important for you to book in advance just to make sure you're able to travel. It's summertime, people are getting out, so it's not necessarily just about Eid. You are in a small confined space when you're on an airplane, so it's important to make sure. I think this Green Al Husn app idea is perfect, because you're then obligated to do what needs to be done to make sure that you're safe and the people around you are.
100%, because we'll end it shortly, but just one of the notes from the government is that it has been noticed that in a time period that some people have been neglecting precautionary and COVID measures put in place in public places, which is exactly what Shahir was talking about just now. You're walking around the mall and people aren't wearing their masks.
Exactly.
And I think it's not worth it. I think there's security guards in the mall that I go to, and they're specifically standing there to make sure that everyone wears their masks. And but it works because it's a small mall and most people are masked up. However, public places indoors, like in big malls, you need to be wearing your mask, and they're just highlighting that we're seeing numbers rising. We're all going to be traveling. So if if you don't wear your mask, it's a 3K fine. If you fail to quarantine, it's a 50K fine. So if you have flu-like symptoms, you have COVID and you fail to quarantine, it's a 50,000 dirham fine. This is money we don't have. It's money we don't want to spend. I think there's a need for social responsibility. A bit of a reminder as we go into the Eid holiday. Traffic light system, green light if you're traveling. Get green on your Hustle app to make sure you have the correct permissions to leave the country. And any more information we can bring them. But also there is the information from the prayers and mosques if you want to recap.
So a little recap. The prayers are going to last 20 minutes. Unsure of whether or not the lectures are going to happen, probably because they are kept very short anyway. You are required to wear a face mask in the mosque. There's going to be a meter distance between you and the next person. And you're required to bring your own prayer mat and adhere to social distancing when around family too. Yeah,
I think around family is like the key thing. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Especially the elderly and people with chronic diseases.
It's just a massive consideration because some of us may not have elderly relatives here, but then a lot of people do. And I think there is that kind of like small pocket of society who doesn't care.
Yeah.
Because they're like, well, I've got vaccinated, I've had COVID once or twice, therefore I'm like, whatever. However, your colleague you're sitting next to has a mom, and they they have a mom and a dad and a grandmother and a grandfather. So as we go into, and I know we've heard this like 10 million times before, and it's like coming into Eid, and do we want to be thinking about it? But the answer is yes, because cases are rising. We just need to be that little bit more careful. But just take notes. We'll bring you more information about the green traffic light system in an article and on Instagram in a little bit. But it was great to be with you on a Monday afternoon.
Woo! Special edition of the Lovin Dubai show. But there'll be more updates happening on the show tomorrow when Simmer is back, right? That's it basically.
That's it?
That's it.
Done? Done so. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. As always, we love to read your comments before, during, and after the show. If you're new to this show, we go live on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. If you're watching on Instagram, this is behind the scenes. We have a much nicer, fancier show on Facebook with lots of graphics, so do tune in then. At 8:30 every single morning, it's usually Simran and I, but Shahir is here. He's usually behind the scenes, puppeteering.
That's a great way to describe what the app is behind the scenes.
You're just telling us what to do.
Basically.
We're just like mouthpieces. We read anything that we see on the teleprompter.
Basically. Tomorrow I'm going to put the I'm the best person ever, but that's just me. Guys, thank you so much for watching. That's it from Misha here.
So long. Have a fabulous day, and we'll see you tomorrow morning at 8:30. Thanks for tuning in.
Goodbye.